Remember Disney? Not the Disney of today where it's a ginormous corporate company that owns practically everything we watch, that has the net worth that's more than multiple small countries. I'm talking about the Disney that we grew up with. The Disney that made those animated classic movies, had Disney Channel where we would watch the shows that we grew up with.
Hey, I'm Hilary Duff from Lizzie McGuire, and you're watching Disney Channel.
Iconic child stars that Disney would put all their money into giving movies, TV roles. They would market all their commercials to just letting us know how great this one person is as an actor, making us want to be invested in who they are as a person, see them in more Disney media. Also, Disney could pick and choose whoever they want to lock into their contracts or spend more time working with, because it's better to pay one star, have them be in multiple films, have those films do well because children are invested and love seeing that person on screen, rather than multiple stars that Disney would have to put their time and money into.
He's so smart, he's so charming, he's so Kyle. Check out back-to-back episodes of That's So Raven featuring some of your favorite episodes with Kyle. Then Kyle stars in Disney Channel's newest original movie, Life is Rough. It all starts next Friday at 6/5 Central on Disney Channel.
Now, a lot of these stars did grow to be successful, whether they moved out of Disney or they had one role that they started in their youth, and as they grew up and the show or movie or series ended, they went on to other projects that may have not been as big, but they got their big break from being a Disney actor.
I'm weird. I'm a weirdo. I don't fit in, and I don't want to fit in.
Some of them stopped acting entirely, getting actual jobs or becoming musicians. And although Disney has a huge amount of stars that ended up becoming successful, there were also a lot that didn't. Not that the people we're talking about today weren't successful. I actually want to talk about a movie and somebody specifically that did a lot for my community growing up. Because in 2006, while everybody was watching High School Musical with their white leads and Zac Efron and all the white cast members, I was watching Wendy Wu Homecoming Warrior. I'm lying, I was 2 years old when that movie came out, but then when they were doing those reruns of movies and I was introduced to the classics like Cheetah Girls, Let It Shine, that jump rope one of the ones that I watched and absolutely loved was Wendy Wu Homecoming Warrior. All because they had not one, but 6 Asian people in that movie, even though everyone else in the movie is white. I guess it's harder for Disney to find Asian actors that aren't Brenda Song. Speaking of her, this movie stars Brenda Song, most popular for playing London Tipton in Zack and Cody, where they actually made her character Thai. In Wendy Wu Homecoming Warrior, she plays the title character of Wendy Wu, a Chinese American high schooler running for homecoming queen. Living with her equally American parents, her extremely American brother,
How do you get the orange off your fingers? Suck 'em.
and her extremely immigrant Chinese grandmother. She's hesitant to heed destiny when a young monk with a ponytail comes into her life. Wendy Wu is one of my favorite Disney Channel original movies. During a time where Disney was cracking out original movies almost every single month, there are star classics like High School Musical, that entire franchise, Camp Rock, that entire franchise, Lemonade Mouth, Radio Rebel, but the one that I always go back to is Let It Shine. I love Let It Shine.
I saw you last week driving a taxi cab.
And Wendy Wu Homecoming Warrior. Now, this movie's a lot different from a lot of other Disney original movies, because while those focus heavily on like romance, drama, and predominantly singing, Wendy Wu Homecoming Warrior is an action film, heavily. And although this movie gets a lot of flack for guilt-tripping Asians into thinking they aren't Asian enough, or that they have to be so tied to their heritage, while also telling such a cliche story with stereotypes and ancient scrolls and evil spirits, there is still a lot to love about this movie. When I was rewatching this movie, I knew that it delved heavily into action, but one thing I didn't grasp before it started happening was how good the fight scenes were. Now, of course, they're not super masterful Bruce Lee style choreography. The team that they had working on this movie, you could tell, put a lot of care into these characters, the way they fight, and the way they mix comedy and that cliche Disney flair into what essentially are actual fight scenes. And that's because various people involved in this film have done work in action media. While the director, white man by the way, doesn't really do action films, Koichi Sakamoto, the action director for this film, has a huge history in working in action media. Most known for his work in Kamen Rider and Ultraman, I think he plays the biggest role in making this movie feel like a mix between Power Rangers and early 2000s Disney. That looks... Why did they use that? That wasn't good. I will say there's this weirdly unnecessary bit where these two monks watch Shen spar and then Shen throws a dart at his teacup, but when it hits the teacup it comes from the side and then he just goes back to fighting. I don't know, I just thought that was really weird. In just a few scenes from now, we're gonna see Wendy do something similar, showing that even though she isn't trained in martial arts, she's just always been sort of good at these things and she has like good reflexes and strength. But this random scene with Shen doing it, I don't really think makes sense here. He's interrupted by this older monk who stops him from embarrassing this random guy, and for some reason everyone's just around him watching. The Ancient One tells Shen it's time. The great evil known as Yan Lo has awakened and is on his way. They give Shen 3 of the Furious 5 and tell him who he'll need to look for. More specifically, they show him on a scroll and it's just the face of Brenda Song, like on a scroll. As funny of a visual as that is, story-wise, it's supposed to be like how she looks in every life she has, because we find out it's like reincarnation. She looks like that in each lifetime where she is the chosen one essentially. But then we also see a scroll of her modern home in California. And I'm like, did they only give him those scrolls? Like, I would understand the first one, but then when he pulls up to her home and he's got the scroll and it's her home, that's not her home in every lifetime. Did they, like, how do they know this? And later they show like Shen taking a plane. They don't show him taking the plane. They just show him walking from the airport. And it's funny to think Shen, he has a passport, like he had to go take his passport photo. When he landed, he had to go through immigrations. And if you've ever like been through immigration, you know the kind of questions they ask. And it's just kind of funny when you think about that. We transition from the scroll of Wendy Wu to Wendy herself sketching herself in a homecoming queen crown with her name on it. History teacher brings her back to reality to answer a question about China. And before she could answer...
Tell you tomorrow, Mr. Medina. Bye.
So iconic. It's so iconic for a Disney movie to start one of 3 ways. Waking up late for the first day of school, leaving on the last day of school, or the bell ringing as class ends. Now, this movie does open up a little different, but they still do mix in like these little quirky tropes that not even Disney movie, but just like these high school teenager movies tend to have. We're then introduced to Wendy's 2 best friends, Tori and Lily. They honestly aren't too much of characters, but I think they're more so just to show how American she is. They feel like side characters out of Mean Girls or some tropey high school movie. And that's kind of crazy because I found out that they actually both play Power Rangers. But not just that, Sally Martins, who plays Tori, also plays Tori in Power Rangers Ninja Storm, while Anna Hutchison, who plays Lily, also plays Lily in Power Rangers Jungle Fury. They literally are the Power Rangers in the Wendy Wu universe. Like, that's just straight up them. But it's also in the scene that we meet Wendy's boyfriend, Austin.
Hello, Miami!
It's not that Austin. It's just a white guy with a similar hairstyle. Kind of looks like him. I think he's like a lot taller though. But it's practically Austin. His name's also Austin. That's why I made that joke. He's just missing Dez. We see right off the bat that they're not a good match. We find out later in the movie that the only reason Wendy chose to be with Austin was because it was what she was told, but it's not what she really wanted. We get into that later in the movie. Right now, Wendy worries about not winning Homecoming Queen because of her frenemy rivalry with, whoa, what a tongue twister. Her frenemy rivalry with white popular girl, Jessica Dawson. As we see Jessica giving out cookies to vote for her, Wendy's little brother Peter takes one. Her warrior reflex kicks in as she throws one of her lipsticks at the cookie, the same way Shen does with the teacup at the beginning of the movie. Although here the angle makes a little more sense, and you know, it's not her hurling a dart straight at somebody. It's a lighter, softer lipstick, and then the cookie breaks in half. Hard cuts in a museum that Wendy's mother, Nina, works at. Nina's responsible for creating a Chinese exhibit at the museum. So when she's focused on work instead of listening to Wendy talking about Jessica, out of frustration, she slams her hand against a crate where then this happens.
Look, honey.
I don't know why she's surprised by this, as if earlier she didn't whoa at her brother. And then we see in the movie later on, even without Shen interfering, she does other athletic things and she treats it as normal. But her kicking a box to save a vase, she's like, I don't know. After Nina talks about their dog Cupcake, Wendy gets the idea to make cupcakes to one-up Jessica's cookie idea. There's a quick scene where Shen arrives to America and tries to hitchhike, but then he shows a feat of speed that may match Goku's speed. I don't know if you guys watch Bleach, but like they do it a lot in this movie. They're flash stepping. They're straight up like it's a flash step. I'm a huge fan of Bleach, but like you can't tell me that's not just a straight up I don't know. Flash stepping over to Wendy's home in the evening, we meet the rest of her family and get a grasp of their dynamics. The father, Kenny, is a caring and tries his best to support his daughter type of father. You could tell he's a family man, and you could just tell he's trying to do his best. We meet Grandma. She is the immigrant of the family. Very stereotypical, but she is one of the best characters in the film. And I'm so absolutely sure that they designed her that way. Like, I wouldn't say that there's a character that's written to be hated. Like, even Jessica. Like, yeah, she's like snarky and stuck up, but the way they portray her in the films, it feels more like a frenemy high school rival. But it doesn't feel like they hate each other. I will say each character does have a flaw because, you know, every character has to grow. Each character has their own little moment where it's like, oh, cool. Every character except for Grandma. And like, don't get me wrong, I don't want her to have a flaw. And I'm glad they designed her character to be both humorous, generous, and wise. This film guilt trips the family and viewers into thinking they need to revert their roots and heritage. And they pretty much say, hey, we're too much of an American family. We have to be Chinese American. And that's sort of like the director commentary. Like, that's what he's trying to say in this movie. This white man. Even though the reason I love this movie is because it feels like a love letter to the Asian youth and Asian community for starring these people that look like me. I could do without, all that guilt tripping stuff telling me what I am. Grandma feels the same way because she doesn't do that at all in this movie. She respects everyone, she cares about everybody, and besides Shen, she is the pushing force of the movie to have Wendy fulfill her destiny. After a small scene at the museum of a box being delivered, we go back to the Wu household as everybody but Wendy goes to sleep, as she has to clean up her mess. At the same time, Shen appears. Their interaction is short, and Shen has never met a woman in his life.
Hello.
Oh, sorry. During their interaction, Wendy thinks Jessica's pranking her. Racist, prank. After Wendy tries kicking Shen out, he flash steps on her. It's straight up a flat. Anyway, it's here that Wendy, without training, fends off a Shen who has been training for his entire life. And in the beginning of the movie, Shen straight up beats up 5 grown men, embarrasses them. And it's here that we get a quick little scene showing off the choreography and how they mix in humor with the broom and then the cool moves between the two characters. I think the opening scene and this scene are both precursors into the action scenes that happen later on. You can tell by watching this that they got someone who does this for a living. Along with that, the majority of the actors and actresses have a background in stunt work, action media, and choreography work. Wendy's stunt double actually is infamous for being a Power Ranger stunt double, allowing the character of Wendy to portray moves that feel both real and nonsensical, but also nostalgic the same way the Power Rangers and Power Ranger media move. After a small fight scene where Wendy throws Shen out, the box at the museum starts to glow green. The security guard takes his pepper spray to check it out, and that's when Yan Lo reveals himself. That's really funny. The security guard, after Yan Lo enters his body, goes back upstairs, and then coincidentally, Peter, he's there to deliver a pizza to the museum. It's there that Yan Lo's spirit then transfers from the guard to the brother. Does the spirit know how to ride a motorcycle? Or does it just consume the knowledge of whoever it possesses? Because it's kind of funny how the evil spirit also decided to put a helmet on, like a safety helmet. Now it's here that we get into our first real fight scene, and it's Yan Lo in Peter's body versus Shen. This scene is really good, to put it short. Everyone in the house is asleep, including Wendy, who's sleeping on the couch, and as the two battle, they also have to stay quiet. Yan Lo's main goal is to take Wendy's power/life with this orb. Shen's main goal is to stop Yan Lo without harming Peter to an extent, while also making sure everything in the home stays pristine. This fight is so good. It has comical bits. My favorite part is Yan Lo throwing the 2 goldfish as a diversion. Dude, why is the spirit so evil to the fish? Why did I consciously think let me throw these fish at this guy? That'll slow him down. Eventually, Yan Lo transfers his spirit into Cupcake the dog and leaves. Before Shen leaves the Wu household, he places an amulet around Wendy's neck to protect her. The next morning, she takes it off thinking it's Peter who pranked her. She ends up not taking the cupcakes even though she made 500 of them.
Aren't you taking your cupcakes? No, you take them. Bye. But there's 500 of them.
Shen then sneaks into Wendy's home looking for the necklace, noticing she didn't have it on when she left, and comes across Grandma. This scene is very cute, and I think the grandmother's acting is really nice here. There's a sense of fear in her eyes, but her words are of strength and knowledge. I really enjoy her portrayal through the entire movie, but I, for some reason, think this is one of her best scenes. Now, even though that's one of Grandma's best scenes, this next scene coming up is one of my favorites in the movie. Wendy's friends come to pick her up as Shen tries to get her attention. With no way to catch up, he does the only thing someone in a Disney movie could think of doing in this situation. At school during soccer practice, after getting manipulated and embarrassed by Jessica, Wendy gets her get back. I guarantee you Wendy's about to pull like some Wendy Wu Homecoming Warrior type of move. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's not her at all. After soccer practice, she runs into Shen, who essentially gives her the rundown, even showing her the scroll from the beginning of the movie. She's still hesitant to heed destiny, so she runs with her friends to the mall. At the same time, Cupcake makes it to the school and takes over the principal. I think it's the principal, they don't make it clear. Either way, he then transfers it to the history teacher a day later. And now Shen is just at Wendy's high school, and she chalks it up to Shen being a cousin from China. She also chalks up the odd behaviors to monk things or ancient Chinese things. You could tell this was directed by a white man who found these characteristics odd when he would maybe experience them going out or going somewhere. You could chalk it up to the director making these Chinese American characters be ignorant toward their own heritage and history. Even though me as an Asian American, I would never say these sort of things if I saw a monk or came across like an Asian temple. I wouldn't say I'm very tied with my heritage, but I also know respect, just as a lot of Asian American people do, even at the age that Wendy Wu here is. Now, there's definitely people who would classify themselves more as American than Asian American, but even then, they're not gonna go out of their way to disrespectfully say things as Wendy does in this movie. Now, I'd be able to let these things go if it was just this scene where she was doing it and she's kind of under pressure to come up with some sort of excuse. But it's not just that. It's the fact that she does this continuously through the movie. And it's not just her, it's practically everybody. Not the white characters, they're not going out of their way to be racist, but there's a dinner scene later on where they do similar things. So it's not just Wendy being ignorant because of her age, they're classifying this Chinese American family as just like this. They use these lines and excuses so often in this movie to the point where I feel profiled. And I'm not even from China. In the hallway, Jessica makes Wendy realize that she'll have to pull out of the running for homecoming since she's failing her history class. And low-key, Jessica fumbled by trying to rub it in Wendy's face, because if she stayed quiet, didn't say anything to Wendy, and she continued to fail the class, she would have had to be pushed out of the running. Instead, Wendy talks to herself about the information she was just told.
I will help you. I can teach you how to look within.
You are kind of smart.
Why would Wendy think that? All she's ever seen him do is
Wendy, toilet now safe.
They agree that if he teaches her about China and helps her pass her exam, she would train with him. There's a small training scene in a public park where Wendy isn't really taking the training seriously, or if she is, she's just not seen as being skilled at all, despite doing this early. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's not her at all. After essentially making no progress during that entire montage, Shen still teaches her how to pass her history test. Essentially, all he does is tells her to meditate, because all of China's history is written in books and could be found anywhere, but the real history of China is inside her. So all she has to do is focus, and she just does. It just takes that explanation to get her to be like, okay, and she does it. And she truly does it wherever she is, even with him not being there. And after a few clips of that, we find out it works. She passes and celebrates with Shen, making this their first bonding experience. But then out of excitement, she does this. At home, Wendy asks herself if she ever misses China. As Grandma reminisces about her childhood, she mentions a story she heard as a child about a girl who would train with a young monk to defeat evil every 90 years. It's the same story Shen told Wendy at her door the very first night she arrived and at school after soccer practice. Speaking of Shen, the family arrives and Grandma introduces Shen as a distant relative on a mission to visit. This dinner scene is really interesting to me as Kenny and Wendy seem to be kindly disgruntled at Shen's arrival. While Peter likes Shen's ponytail, he likes his clothes, and he appreciates the demonstration of Kung Fu, even doing it later in the movie. And Nina's eager to learn history from Shen to help with her exhibit. So even though we know Wendy's reason for being distant with Shen, we see that Kenny also relates with her and they're sort of paired, whereas the brother and mother are sort of appreciative of Shen's being there and right off the bat are able to take advantage of it. This continues to show in the scene when Grandma brings mooncakes out made by Shen. Everyone loves them except for Kenny, who refuses to eat it. Without explanation, he solemnly goes upstairs to bed. Later that night, each family member is shown the effects of having Shen in their home. Wendy grows to be less prejudiced against him, whereas before she was embarrassed and fearful he would affect her reputation. She stands up for him and tells her friends it doesn't matter if he's a monk. Shen tries Cheetos for the first time.
But how do you get the orange off your fingers?
Suck 'em.
And Peter does this. Later on, we catch up with Nina and Kenny, but for now, it's montage at the mall time. Whoa, what? So fun and funny. What? He's not normal. At night, Nina catches Kenny eating some of the leftover mooncakes. He shares his guilt of turning his back on his heritage and how seeing those mooncakes reminded him of his upbringing. Nina does connect with him, letting him know he's not the only one thinking that. They share a nice moment where Kenny talks about having Shen has done something for each member of the family. Everyone except for Wendy. Of course, this is ironic because in reality, everyone is getting one thing out of Shen being there, but Wendy is getting everything they're getting. Grandma's getting a piece of home, Peter's getting some new moves, Nina's getting some help with her work, some history, and Kenny got a revelation. These are all things that they got individually, but Wendy is getting all of them. It's a little cheesy and sort of in your face, but I think it's a cute thing to bring up. Although this is one of those times where it feels like the diversity is very forced upon you in this movie. Remembering it's the director letting you know, hey, these Asian American people, they're not feeling themselves because they're Asian, but they're more American. It's something you slightly feel in the movie is a little forced. And then me personally writing the script and doing research on the movie, seeing it written by a white man, it feels very in your face when it comes to the struggles of Asian Americans with their identity, ideology, heritage, and such. At school, Shen looks all American and dreamy with his hair down and telling people to vote for Wendy for homecoming. The girls are all over him and his hair, and Wendy starts to accept and appreciate Shen. Later that night, they share bonding moments where Shen talks about his past lives and Wendy talks about how her boyfriend Austin isn't really in love with her. He's actually in love with himself. And she's only with him because they were told that they look good together. It's pretty clear that Wendy starts falling for Shen at this point. And even though it's not weird per se, it does feel weird with everyone around them, including their own family, thinking they're relatives or at the very least related. And in the future, when it sort of alludes to them getting together, I just think about the future and how she's going to explain it to people. Shen explains that for the last 1,000 years, it's been his destiny to die in battle when they fight Yan Lo. but he is grateful for Wendy that he got the chance to be a real teenager in this lifetime. So for his entire existence, which is like, if you combine all his lives, probably like a few hundred years, maybe 200 years, he lives to be around the age of like 16, 17 max, I presume. But here's what I'm wondering, how? Like, is he a distraction for whoever the Yin warrior is to do her final move? Like, does he get vaporized each time? Like, is it always different? We see later in the movie, Shen dies and he essentially gets his soul, taken. That's what it seems like. And so his body's there. And so for the last 1,000 years, what do they do with the body? Wendy takes Shen to a party, and after he dances with another girl, she gets jealous. After Austin appears, he realizes he's in love with Des, and they break up. Wendy, being upset after Shen gets a cheek kiss, goes to cry by the pool. Yan Lo, taking over Lily's body, attempts to take Wendy's life. After Shen realizes what's happening, he does the only sensible thing he could do. Wendy, realizing it's not her friend, also does the only sensible thing she could do. The two of them lock back in so Wendy could complete her training. Using the little trinkets from the beginning of the movie, the spirits of the 4 masters come out to train Wendy. Shen explains there are 5 masters total, revealing he's the dragon. That's pretty cool. Like, I personally like that. I think it's cool. Each master / trinket / animal gives them a sort of like different trait to train Wendy upon. And although Shen doesn't really teach her anything specific, the dragon is essentially resilience, which I'm led to believe is how him having the dragon spirit allows him to reincarnate over and over. The same way Wendy reincarnates every 90 years. Now, when these spirits manifest themselves, they're old people. And Wendy can't bring herself to take it seriously or fight old people. Teenagers are okay. She could beat up teenagers, whatever. But old people, she can't do it. So Shen takes the spirits and brings them to various staff members of her high school. First is Coach Gibbs, aka Serpentina from Power Rangers Mystic Force. Personally, it's definitely in my top 5 Power Rangers series since it takes after like Asian mythology, and I love the Megazords. They're so cool. But it's here with Coach Gibbs, Wendy learns how to be flexible like a snake. Second is Albert Einstein.
Speed is relative.
It's here Wendy becomes like a cheetah and learns how to flash step multiple times over. Third is Mr. Tobias. It's funny because he's got a bit of a gut, and yet he could do this. He does that because he's actually Master Crane from Kung Fu Panda, which that's a change from his role, Korvaka, in Power Rangers Ninja Steel. I personally didn't watch that one. I think this shot would be really good if the sky wasn't so blown out. The 4th and last master she learns from is Mr. Medina, the history teacher, first one we see. AKA, get this, Ancient Sensei from Power Rangers Ninja Storm, Orange Head Crybots, General Banag, Zeltrax, and Shopkeeper in Power Rangers SPD, Vulcan and Cheetar in Operation Overdrive, Mason Truman in RPM and Beast Morphers, General Peluso in Super Mega Force, and Mr. Watkins in Dino Supercharge. This guy is so extremely stacked with Power Ranger roles, and it's crazy. He has an entire list of himself and his characters on the Power Rangers Wikipedia. With him being so stacked, he has, I would say, the most amount of screen time. Granted, it's not that much. He has the most amount of scenes, and he has the best training scenes with the bow staffs. Essentially, this is the scene that leads Wendy into using everything she's learned from the Masters against all of them the same way Shen did in the beginning of the movie. But whereas that beginning scene felt like a very light snack, this scene is the appetizers, the entree, the sides, but not the dessert. Because the second half of this fight does go a little bit slower and it's kind of like cartoonish to the point where it kind of takes me out of this is good choreography and it's more so like this feels like a Disney movie. Although I do understand it because choreographing a 5v1 fight scene is fairly hard. And also they put all their effort into the last fight in the movie, which is the best fight by far. After celebrating her mastery of all the fighting styles, Wendy's friends call her, letting her know beforehand that she won Homecoming Queen. She thanks Shen for helping her with her grades and for getting people to vote for her, and asks him to be her date to homecoming. He's fairly hesitant, and he reveals that the night Yan Lo will reveal himself is the night of Wendy's homecoming. And if you want to talk about cliches, not just for Disney movies, but for practically all movies with a duo in it, Wendy being faced with the choice of saving the world or winning Homecoming Queen, she gets upset at Shen and decides to leave. Wendy's upset because Shen never told her. She doesn't outright state that she's upset that they're on the same night. She's more so upset that Shen hid the date from her. I wouldn't say it's a good reason, but when it comes to these movies or making emotion-based choices, I always give it a pass because the characters are younger. I know it's something we don't think about as people because we know these people are older or they don't exactly seem like children, but it totally makes sense that she would be upset. We could see throughout the film how much she obsesses over being Homecoming Queen and how affected she gets by Jessica and all her deterrents throughout the film. And even though she's bonded with Shen and she's made progress on her training, it was never her dream to be the Yin warrior. She never asked for her destiny and she never asked to be part of this. All she wants is to be left alone and to have things go her way. It's because of that she makes the decision to not be the Yin warrior and not go fight Yan Lo, at her grandmother's dismay. As Wendy gets ready for homecoming, Yan Lo in Jessica's body awakens the Terracotta Warriors in Nina's exhibit at the museum. As Wendy's about to leave, the four masters, still looking like her old teachers, tell her she must fight Yan Lo. She shoos them away, tells them to leave, but before they leave, she asks them to apologize to Shen for her. That's when they let her know what's happening. At the museum, Shen fights Yan Lo alive. We see Shen fight against the Terracotta Warriors, and I just want to take a moment to appreciate Shin Koyamada here. He puts on an incredible performance in this movie. He's effortlessly funny, he's engaging, and with his history and action and martial arts movies, he shines the most in his fight scenes, and you especially see it here. I also want to point out his name is Shin in real life with an I. In the movie, his name is Shen. Between Lily and Tori sharing the same name as their Power Rangers counterparts, Shen shares a similar enough name to his real life counterpart, who is a martial arts actor. As Shen is about to be defeated, the Furious Five appear. I say Furious Five because it's the Four Master plus Wendy. Realizing now that Shen is willing to sacrifice himself for this, knowing that he's going to die, Wendy realizes that Shen's life is more valuable than winning Homecoming Queen. In a long battle showcasing all the Masters' movesets, along with Wendy saving Shen, they defeat all the Terracotta Warriors. Wendy Wu battles Jessica in a fight scene that's pretty good actually. I wouldn't say Wendy struggles, like I'm sure if they kept fighting, Wendy would just straight up win, even in her homecoming dress. But after getting knocked down, Grandma appears with the clothes that her mother wore when she was a Yin warrior. We get this small little moment of Wendy aura farming in her traditional Yin warrior battle clothes. And it's here we get the final fight of the movie. And guys, this fight is actually so fun. Like, it's so fun, it's so crazy. It truly feels like the peak of the movie. And it's so clear that Wendy is at her most powerful and proud. Like, in this fight, Jessica isn't even a match for her. Wendy mastering all parts of her gives her a new ability. After Jessica's freed from Yan Lo, she tells her this.
You're supposed to be at homecoming.
I thought everyone already voted you queen.
I've been thinking lately, and there are things that are more important to me right now.
And I'm like, that's not entirely necessary. Like, I know after realizing she's wronged Shen, she cares more about being a Yin warrior than she does homecoming. But it's like, she could have her cake and eat it too. I'm pretty sure that's the saying. But like, she could do both. Like, even if winning homecoming queen isn't as important to her anymore, it is something she could do. Like, they're all about to leave anyway. I don't know why she would give the win to Jessica, especially since she knows she already won. It's not going to take much for her to just beat Yan Lo and then be like, all right, we could still make it to homecoming. But maybe it's destiny that she doesn't become homecoming queen. Because as Shen wonders why he survived this battle, Yan Lo makes his physical appearance. Using the rubble of all the terracotta warriors, he becomes an enforced, larger terracotta warrior. And he speed blitzes all the masters and Wendy. And so Shen, understanding that it's his destiny to die in battle for the Yin warrior to win, he makes his last stand against Yan Lo. Wendy, understanding all parts of herself and using her new powers with the guidance of her grandmother, she pulls out her ace in the hole. She uses her powers to resurrect Shen so he doesn't die. The masters declare that Yan Lo is gone for good. They declare that she just straight up killed him. He revealed himself and now he's gone. He's dead forever. That means the cycle has ended. Wendy Wu is the last Yin warrior ever, and that makes this Shen's last life. It gives him the freedom to live and grow as he won't be reincarnated anymore. And then everyone goes home for mooncakes and the movie ends. Everyone just goes home. It's alluded to that Shen and Wendy's, maybe get some romance on or something. And Wendy becomes the greatest warrior, not just in this universe, but also the Power Rangers universe apparently, and the universe of Disney movies, as she did something that I don't think Alex from Wizard of Waverly Place would be able to do. And I think Alex is the second strongest character in any Disney original movie. Now, this film was set to get a sequel, the same way most Disney original movies do, but it ended up getting canceled. I'm sure it's no doubt from the backlash that the Asian community had given, along with the movie just not performing that well. It didn't have a cult following the same way High School Musical did, and with Brenda Song being the only actual Disney actor in the movie, it just didn't stick with a lot of the younger viewers who was more used to seeing people from Lemonade Mouth in other movies, or Radio Rebel, or Minutemen, or Camp Rock, and movies like those. After searching forums and Reddit pages, people see this film more as, oh my god, I forgot about that. I feel nostalgic now. Whereas most people could tell you the plot of more popular Disney films, speaking with some of my friends about recording this video, I could tell you most people don't remember this movie at all. Now, is this the perfect Asian representation film? No, it's not. It's Everything Everywhere All at Once, Crazy Rich Asians, Shang-Chi. But for me, this does hold a special place in my heart. Even though the film spends a good amount of time guilt-tripping me into thinking I'm not Asian enough, and every Asian person is Chinese, it does at the very least open a conversation. I have always struggled with being an Asian American, especially when I looked like this during quarantine. And I got comments like these all the time. To the common people, it doesn't matter who I am, or what my race is, or what my name is, or my age. It just matters that I share a characteristic similar to somebody they enjoy. My struggles aren't life and death like the Black community during COVID time, or the large Hispanic community struggling with feeling safe in their own homes because of raids and regulations in modern times. I understand that I'm privileged to not be hate crimed or have an agenda pushed onto me for my race, but I am an American. And although I could be in a room with 100 other Americans, to most, I'm not American. I'm an Asian person. And I know I'm an Asian person, but when I look at my skin compared to my peers, I look similar enough. It's not like I go around my life looking at mirrors, but when I look into a mirror, I see that these people around me as I grew up, went to school, high school, work, shopping, anything, see me as different. The only time I feel normal or like myself are when I forget how I look, or I forget that I look different. But if I'm able to turn on my TV, go to the theater, scroll on my phone and see people that do look like me, it helps me make me feel just a little bit more normal. There are a lot of cliches and stereotypes, but all around this movie shows a loving family who struggles to abide by themselves and understanding their own cultures. A fun story, not using Western stereotypes like basketball, Sweet 16s, American high school, summer camp, but Eastern ideas and revelations. And aside from the main director, allowing so many Asian people to be involved in the making of this film shows that there is care behind all of this. Representation isn't tied to understanding. You don't need to understand me, and I don't need to understand you. We both have enough to worry about in our own lives. It's about being seen. At the very least, understanding I'm not just my skin, the same way you're not just yours. So having the ability to see myself there, where they are, that's enough for me. In modern times, with race being such an issue now more than ever, there are a lot of things people will do to benefit themselves that put down their community. As an Asian person who once spent so much time on TikTok getting to know other creators, one thing I would see very common in the Asian community is the sexualization of being Asian. I'm not sure what the craze was, but as a 17-year-old, I could say I faced a lot of comments that were fetishizing or comparing me to others that, although Asian, were just completely unrelated to me. It would mostly be Japanese, Korean people, whereas most Southeast Asian people aren't even in the conversation for being real Asians. So in the grand scheme of things, I wouldn't say that this film brings the Asian community back years. In fact, I don't think it brings the Asian community back at all. If anything, it puts the Asian community in a better light. And having so many Asian people tied to this film, it personally gives me assurance. I don't know about other Asian people, if it makes you uncomfortable to see Asian actors on the screen acting out something aside from Western ideas. I know and understand why this film gets a lot of slack, and I could look past that for what it does for me and what it has done for the Asian community. That was me talking about Wendigo Homecoming Warrior. Oh?